Whether you are circumcised or you are uncircumcised, it does not automatically mean that you will be a rapist someday. This is obvious. What is not so obvious to a lot of people, however, is that when you try to put an uncircumcised penis into a dry vagina, it will naturally push the foreskin back. And commonly, if you forcefully push the foreskin back without any lubrication whatsoever, it will cause the uncircumcised man extraordinary pain. However, if you do not have your foreskin, this pain will not exist, thus making the rape easier. This is not a topic that is easily debatable because we are speaking of physical objects and their natural behavior. And what this all clearly comes down to is if you are pro-circumcision, then you are helping the rapist. You cannot feel with something that does not exist, and when you promote the removal of the foreskin, not only are you making the penis less sensitive, but you are also desensitizing it to pain. A pain that is intended to naturally occur in the uncircumcised penis of a man who is attempting to destroy a woman both physically and psychologically. I want you to think about that. Many females in this world were never taught how to wash their genitals sufficiently. A notable percentage of these women coincidentally develop regular vaginal infections and odors. Would it be logical to mutilate the genitals of all newborn females in order to avoid having to teach them proper hygiene? Why not exactly? The reality is that quite a few men find the clitoris to be unsightly. Would it not be better to remove it altogether? Okay, well, let's talk about a lethal issue, such as breast, testicular, and colon cancer. Millions of people have already died from these issues. Could we not automatically prevent the issue from coming up again in the future if we remove the colon, breast, and testicles of all newborn babies? Or instead of playing games with their lives, should we let them grow up and decide for themselves? Does our society's collective preference for how we appear automatically override our individual rights to physical wholeness? Well, whatever your answer is, I think that the pathetically low voluntary circumcision rates speak for themselves. Hello. Quite a bit has happened on Twitter in the last 14 hours or so. I obsessed over an issue, and things got really personal, and friendships were destroyed because of the things that I said. And the primary reason I'm making this video is to basically pass on to you what my wife has taught me about dealing with people. As you may be aware, I am socially retarded in many cases. But here's the list of things I've learned. When I'm dealing with people, they will better receive me if I refuse to name call. Me calling people monsters, me saying they're disgusting, it doesn't help my case in most every instance. Now, me using caps, it just makes me look like I'm screaming. And people who scream aren't normally perceived automatically as reasonable people. Or at least when you're trying to convince people to agree with you. No exclamation points to support the no caps. Exclamation points are very similar. More screaming. No aggression. It kind of goes with the above. It doesn't seem like people learn as well in an aggressive environment. And I know what you're saying. Oh my god, Onision, you're just now learning this. How could you be so stupid? I'm telling you people, I'm real screwed up. I have a lot of learning to do. And even though it seems like preschool stuff, at least I'm trying. And the last one, no making it personal. I made a personal attack on someone because they put @Onision in their statement. I replied to them quite publicly, calling them a horrible father. Whether or not I actually believe this, it didn't accomplish a whole lot other than getting a whole lot of people mad at me. A whole lot of people flaming me. Completely forgetting what I was fighting for because I decided to take it a little too far. So I want you to know that in the future, if I name call, if I use caps, if I have exclamation points, if I show aggression, and if I'm making it personal, I need to be corrected. That is, if you're even paying any attention to me whatsoever after today. And I can't say I would be totally miffed if you completely forgot I existed altogether.
because I am clearly immature, and I clearly have a lot of growing to do as a human being. I still support human rights, the rights we have to our own bodies. But I'm not going to sit here and act like my behavior is acceptable. So for those of you who have bared with me all this time, first of all, you're amazing. Thank you. Because I'm a tough cookie. And secondly, thank you for helping me evolve. Because I do believe that human beings can change for the better. And that is certainly something I am constantly trying to do. So thank you. Goodbye.
Hey YouTube. I was asked to comment on the Onision Shay drama. Drama isn't usually my thing, but I thought I do have something at least to contribute. I wanted to kind of explain to people why it is that there are people who feel the way that Onision feels about circumcision. I know that it seems to the average, person that he's just like being a belligerent dick and like, making a big deal out of nothing and etc. etc. First, I've heard some say that he's just trying to be an attention grabber and it's disingenuous. Obviously he's got a certain persona and he's sort of, there's a little shock value or whatever to the things that he does. So, there might be some kind of show involved. But what people should know is that that perspective is actually valid in the way that there are really people who feel that way. He's representing a perspective, and there are actually a growing number of people who feel that way. Being educated about circumcision is the most sure way to make you opposed to it, because circumcision, believe it or not, is not what you think. And like I said, the more you look into it, the more you kind of can understand why it is that people would say inflammatory words like mutilation and why people come from such a place of anger. Also, the foreskin is not what you think. We have this like cultural perspective that a particular natural body part is so heinous that it has to be chopped off. The minute you're born, it just has to come off. And that is, it's understandable that people think that if you're raised in that environment. Which is why, I don't think that Shay is a bad guy or a bad parent or evil or, whatever. He's just an average American, and average Americans have grown up being circumcised, obviously. TMI, Shay's circumcised, okay. It was done without his consent. It was done when he was a teeny baby. He grew up in a society that told him that it was better for him. And like so many other parents, they did what gets done. As an intactivist, I don't go so far as to say that, that people who do circumcision are just like heinous, horrible monsters. But that is the way that it feels. So just to kind of let people in on this perspective, when you first find out what circumcision really is, you're just in disbelief. I myself could not look at a little boy without having my guts feel like they were ripped out of me for probably a good 2 years. In fact, I wrote something on drmama.org. If you want to go there, I'll put the link up, and you can see I wrote a little thing on intactivism and trying to stay positive, and how when you first discover what's really going on, and that circumcision is not what you think, and the foreskin is not what you think, you're just so filled with disbelief. You're just so filled with disgust, that you cannot believe that people could do such a heinous thing, that it can be really overwhelming. And so people should know that it's a very valid perspective. I mean, the way that Onision behaved, it's unfortunate. Okay, judgment is never productive, but the anger, and the negativity is just, once you find out what circumcision really is, that's the way you can't help but feel. And there are a growing number of men who are feeling like that if they were circumcised against their will, that was rape. Someone held them down and forcibly, painfully, most likely without anesthesia, amputated part of their body, part of their most precious part of their body. And if you can imagine how you would feel if you found out one day that your neighbors had their little girl's labia cut off, then you can imagine how some people feel about circumcision, because they don't allow our cultural coloring of girl circumcision is bad, but boy circumcision is good. That's all society. That's all bullshit. So if you can imagine for a moment the way you would feel about your neighbor cutting off part of their little girl's genitals, then that is exactly how people who are in the know about circumcision feel about male circumcision. For the record, Shay's not a bad parent. Anybody who circumcised their kid is not a bad parent. They're just doing what people who don't know what's really going on do. They're just doing what gets done. And so naturally, being an intactivist, that's what we're called. I would prefer that people do the research, and not just whatever the New York Times has to say about circumcision curing AIDS. Fuck that shit. But really go looking. I mean, there's got to be something to it if people are saying, really heinous things. Find out exactly why they're saying that, And I'd like to say, too, that, this is not about, whether or not Onision's language or behavior was out of line. Whether or not, what side of the fence you fall on in this argument. Don't associate that with the argument of circumcision. I mean, Shay's a great guy. Everybody, loves him, and he's funny and whatever. That doesn't mean that circumcision's okay. Okay, these very different things. And what we're missing in this argument, while we're distracted by the drama and we're distracted by the concept of whether or not circumcision is a benefit, medically, this, that, or whatever, the point that really needs to be evaluated here is actually an ethics issue. The point is, should you be forcibly removing part of someone else's genitals when you truly don't need to? I mean, if it's a sexual thing, people can make those decisions when they're competent and sexually active. There's no reason to do that when they're 2 freaking days old. So I have actually broken that down a bit if you'd like to watch my videos. The Human Right Part 1 and 2 is more of an evaluation of that, from more of a philosophical perspective, as it should be. Okay, that's enough. Thanks for watching.
Hey guys, I have been removed from the list of speakers on the VidCon site, and I was recently contacted by someone who represents VidCon. What they said was that I was removed because parents were complaining They weren't necessarily complaining about me being at the event as much as they were complaining about me being a speaker. And I say this because that's why they contacted VidCon in the first place, because I was listed as a speaker. That and the individual who's talking to me who represented VidCon stated that I could still attend the event. So what this comes down to is that they don't want me to voice my opinion. I mean, why else could I still attend the event and not talk into a microphone? Because they don't want me to say anything that's on my mind. These parents are afraid I'm going to say something to their kids, if they even are parents. Maybe they're just haters pretending to be parents. And this is what confuses me. I find Shane Dawson to be very, very hilarious. He's a very funny guy. Says a lot of inappropriate things, but it's funny nevertheless. At the first VidCon, he cussed like crazy. How many people protested him talking at the next event? At the next event, he joked about pedophilia repeatedly. How many people protested the 2012 event coming up? Probably not very many people. Shane Dawson says a lot of things that I would assume most parents don't want their kids to hear. Things that I would never say on stage. I rarely swear in person. I really do. I rarely say anything that's extremely offensive in person. And yet, I'm being censored, and somebody who's much, much more offensive than I am in person isn't. He's much, much more popular than me, yes. However, there are people that are far less popular than me who are still speaking. So it doesn't really quite add up. I support Shane Dawson. I support Shane Dawson and his freedom to joke around and say really offensive things because that's what people love. But what I don't support is this bias, this unfair bias, where because I have an opinion on vegetarianism, or I have an opinion on religion, or I have an opinion on circumcision, I'm not allowed to speak. So you can joke about pedophilia, and you can swear in front of all these kids like crazy, but you can't have these opinions that I have, because that is just too offensive. So let's censor Onision. Let's prevent Onision from saying anything. Because that's the American thing to do, is to censor someone who has a difference in opinion from speaking at a very diverse, what is intended to be a very accepting event. So with that being said, if this isn't resolved, I mean, I just don't see the point in going to VidCon, because obviously I'm an unwelcome person. Obviously VidCon isn't proud to back me. They're not proud to show their support for me. Because if they were, they would not have removed me from their site. So, thank you for supporting me through all this. Hopefully everything works out. Bye guys. Hey guys, I wasn't going to upload a video to this channel today, but I decided, fuck it, so let's roll with it. Alright, today we're going to talk about what a large percentage of the internet hates me talking about, and that is circumcision, except this time it's actually going to be educational, instead of me just saying, oh, mutilation, oh, cruel. So let's go ahead and go to momanatural.com and check out what they have to say. This here states that over 2/3 of the planet is uncircumcised. That's weird because a lot of people tend to imply that if you have a foreskin, you're desperate to get it removed. Yet no one seems to be lining up to have that done in their adult life. In 1999, the American Academy of Pediatrics concluded that infant circumcision is not recommended as a routine procedure. Oh, but circumcision, it helps prevent infections and blah 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 blah. It's called a bar of soap. A vegan bar of soap, mind you. The foreskin contains about 10,000 super specialized nerve endings and a few feet of blood vessels. It's important for sex but also protects the penis. How can you say he won't miss it when you yourself have never had a foreskin? Like, that makes no sense. Maybe you can find out the responsible way by just letting him grow up and decide for himself as to whether or not he wants it removed. I feel like it's ridiculous to take away someone's basic human rights because you feel like it's necessary to commit this unnecessary procedure against them. All you have to do with a child's intact penis is leave it alone. As the boy reaches puberty, he'll be able to retract the foreskin and rinse it as necessary. Not a big deal. Well, would you look at that? Instead of removing that part of his genitals, you could just leave it alone? Okay, so this here does say that circumcision helps prevent urinary tract infections. However, let's check out this detailed report. Okay, so what this study says, rounding to the nearest whole number, 4 out of 1,000 circumcised boys will get urinary tract infections. And just to the right, rounding to the nearest whole number, 11 out of 1,000 will contract urinary tract infections if they're uncircumcised. So really what the question is, if I can do basic math, do you want to circumcise 1,000 boys for the sake of saving 7 boys from urinary tract infections?
Seven boys. Or 6 boys if you're rounding to the nearest whole number. The alleged myth is that circumcision prevents penile cancer. In a letter to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Cancer Society stated that it does not consider routine circumcision to be a valid or effective measure to prevent penile or cervical cancers. Penile cancer rates in countries which do not practice circumcision are lower than those found in the US. Here's another myth: intact kids will get teased in the locker room. I don't know, really? It probably depends on the size of that uncircumcised penis. These days, nearly 50% of boys nationwide are left intact. Good job, America. So the circumcised boys may be just as likely to get teased. And that's kind of the funny thing. If you're not circumcised, then circumcised boys look funny, and if you're circumcised, then uncircumcised boys look funny. Or at least that's my experience. What you are not looks strange. It kind of reminds me of the story I heard from a black girl I used to work with. She said that she cried the first time she saw white people. she thought we were like demons or something. It's just what you're used to, you know? Well, that was fun, ladies and gentlemen. I really hope you check out this Facebook page. It's facebook.com/celebritiesagainstcircumcision where I found this link. There's actually quite a few famous faces that find that procedure to be absolutely offensive and unnecessary. I personally believe that circumcision is a violation of human rights, and just because your parents mutilated you doesn't mean that you should mutilate your children. Please be smarter than your parents and do the right thing and let your child decide for themselves. Oh God, it's the ice cream truck. I'm sorry, I gotta do this. Get a real job, fag!
Hi, I'm making this vlog to let the world know that I just removed a piece of my baby's penis. The doctor said that I should do it, so I did it, and now he has less of a penis than he had before. It looks bigger, some people say, but really all it is right now is bloody. I was going to keep the foreskin, but I didn't want to creep him out when he's older. And he asked, Mom, why do you have my foreskin still? That creeps me out. So anyway, I just wanted to make this video letting everybody know what I did to my baby. He didn't necessarily need the procedure, and insurance wouldn't cover it, but I figured he probably maybe wanted it when he's an adult. I could have just waited for him to decide for himself when he's an adult, but I decided to just go ahead and snip it off. So what they did is they strapped him down to a table, and they stretched out his foreskin till his face turned blue, and then they cut around it. And fortunately, the doctor didn't screw up, but sometimes screw-ups happen, like I heard a baby died from circumcision, which is kind of funny because it's not even necessary to do. But you know, if you don't get that foreskin removed, then they could potentially like get lots of bacteria if they don't wash it. You know, like if you don't wash underneath the foreskin, you could get infected. You know, it's kind of like why we remove people's lips on their face, so they don't get their teeth infected. Because you know, we can't ask people to brush their teeth, because that would be too much. We shouldn't ask that. We should just remove people's lips and their tongues and their ovaries and everything that could possibly get infected. And we should be robots. And we should call John Connor from the future, and he should be like, oh my God, everybody looks so hot now that they have no human parts and that they're all cybernetic, and there's no more infections. But there are computer errors because everyone's running Microsoft Windows, and they get the blue screen and they pass out sometimes. But you just unplug the computer and then you put it back in, and then boom, you have Windows working. So that is why I don't use Windows. Bye. Fuck, where's the...
What's up, ladies and gents? The question of the day is, how do women get circumcised? I bet a lot of you didn't even know women could be circumcised, but they can. Most Americans see female circumcision as barbaric and horrible, whereas many Americans view male circumcision as completely logical. That's not a double standard. I stand against hard-to-read red text. Female genital mutilation. Oh, okay, so with females, it's genital mutilation, but with males, it's... what? Come on. Can we just agree to leave everybody's genitals alone? 80% of the men in the world are uncircumcised, and the mass majority of them are completely fine, but we still see it as socially acceptable to cut on little babies' penises while stating that cutting on vaginas is just horrible. Logic. Got it. I love how every shirt says female genital mutilation, but let's keep mutilating other genitals, and that's offensive. Oh my God, did they really remove the clitoris? Without the clitoris, how would I give a woman an orgasm? With my pinky penis?
penis over here. I mean, come on. I don't want a wife who is not circumcised. Is it because they'll hate sex, including with other men, so you feel like they'll be more loyal to you? Because let me tell you, sex with a girl who cheats on you is much more enjoyable than sex with a woman who doesn't enjoy sex with you at all. Get circumcised and reap the benefits. You can tell an uncircumcised person the benefits of being circumcised day and night. That's not going to inspire the bulk of them to go stand in line to have their genitals cut on. Some people like the way they're born. I know, it's disgusting. Who are you crying to? God? Apparently God wants you to modify his perfect creation, according to man. Nah, I'm pretty sure you'll get more cool points with the creator if you just leave his creations alone and respect his initial design. But that's just common sense, and that has no place in religion. I got circumcised, and you can tell I didn't like it. Look at my eyes. Yes, Ozzy Osbourne. Good of you to note. There's removal of the clitoris, labia, majora, and minora, which I assume make up the labia in full, and the clitoral hood. Without the clitoral hood, how could you function? Everything rubbing up against... Yeah. The rest is sewn shut, allowing just enough room for urination. Wow. I don't get it. Why do some religious people think it's a good idea to modify the creator's perfect design? But as far as the whole debate goes, just ask someone who's not circumcised, whether it be a woman or a man. Hey, have you had any legitimate problems with your foreskin or your labia or your clitoris, etc., that has caused you such a significant problem that you wish somebody would go down there with a knife and remove it? And I guarantee you the majority of them will respond with something similar to, you know, I don't prefer someone to be down there with a knife. No, I kind of enjoy myself the way I am, thanks. And you can say, but infections. Yeah, right. Call me crazy, but I'm pretty sure if you walk up to an uncircumcised guy and you say, hey, have you got any infections down there? He's gonna say no. And if you ask him, hey, do you have trouble washing your penis? They're gonna say something like, what are you, retarded? The delusion revolving around circumcision, both male and female, is absurd. We need to wake up and put down the blades. Apparently in the US, at least 150,000 women are at risk to be cut on. So shout out to religion, can you not? And men, unless you're like a rapist or something who likes seeing people in pain when they have sex with them, you will definitely enjoy a woman who's intact versus not intact, because she's far more likely to enjoy you. Sex is about both people enjoying themselves. I would rather get cheated on by every person I'm with than take away any aspect of their vaginas. Doesn't matter if I stoop into a horrible depression again and again, they deserve the full rights to their vaginas. And I have yet to meet a woman who has ever said to me, you know, I really wish my vagina was cut on. Yeah, no girl wants that. So please, people, get with the times. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day.
We are not robots. We are not slaves. We are Banana Nation.
Warning. Hey guys, today we're gonna find out how circumcision was invented. We'll call this, why was circumcision invented? Let's research. According to Genesis, God told Abraham to circumcise himself. Are you fucking serious? If I'm Abraham and someone asks me to circumcise myself, fuck that. You'd have to be fucking crazy. Apparently he's also supposed to circumcise his slaves. Okay, do you not see the problem here? The man owns slaves. Why would you do anything he does? Global map of male circumcision. So basically Africa's completely batshit insane. And Mexico and South America are pretty safe. India's safe. China's safe, Mongolia's safe. So basically if you don't want a piece of your dick cut off, or in Africa's case, your vagina too, you go north in the east or south in the west. Ooh, that looks exciting. No. Circumcision is not recommended by any national health organization in the world. Have you ever heard of God? I think we can all admit God fucked up making us and we should correct his idiot mistake.
You want to cut off my what?
Little baby, calm down. Just because you're screaming and your face turns blue doesn't mean you feel pain. And you know what they say, your pain doesn't matter because you can't remember it. Except the same does not apply to Alzheimer's patients or people who are subjected to the date rape drug. That's when our philosophy changes. If circumcision is alright because the child won't remember it, then the date rape— damn it, you ruined my point. I can't make a point and then have you make it because then it looks like I just looked ahead, stole your point, and then acted like it was my own. If boys were meant to have foreskins, we'd be born with them. This is— wait, why don't you marry it, you fucking weirdo? Say no to circumcision. Intact genitals are a human right, not female privilege. Dude, Africa, I'm telling you. They be circumcising all the motherfuckers up in there. Aw, cute, look at all them bloody dicks. Who invented circumcision and how did they talk someone into doing it? These people are saying Christians and Jews. Religion, religion, religion. Egyptians did it because they didn't know how to use soap properly. Religion, religion, religion. Fuck. Well, clearly God's a fuck up, and he's not powerful enough to just make baby boys be born without a foreskin. Instead, instead, he's like, hey, you know that thing that protects the head of your penis?
Yeah, let's just take that sensitive thing and go and snippy snip.
Put your newborn babies in a torture device. In Germany, a court finds that circumcision of a minor without consent constitutes unlawful injury. How do you get consent from a minor to cut on their penis? If a minor can't consent to you doing anything sexual with them, in what world can they say, oh yeah, fuck my dick up? Apparently the foreskin was created 100 million BCE, so it looks like it wasn't God who invented the foreskin. It was actually science. Stupid facts. It says here circumcision was actually invented by Aboriginal tribes once the boys in their tribes hit puberty, so it was like a rite of passage. Hey kiddo, you know how you're getting hair all around your dick now? Well, mama's got a sharp stone out back and we want to cut on your dick. Hope you don't bleed out, little fucker. Guess it wasn't religion after all. You know, because the Bible says the world's only 6,000 years old and this says 10,000 BCE. And of course BCE stands for because erection, or big cock erection, berry cake eatery. Regardless whether you have a mutilated penis or not, I hope you have a wonderful day.
We are not robots. We are not slaves. We are Banana Nation.
Warning. Hey, I've been pretty much staying away from this topic until new information came across, but alas, compelling enough shit came to my attention. So let's talk about this. Why do parents circumcise their sons? Apparently in the Philippines, they circumcise boys a little later in life, or so that's what the title of this image says. They don't look very happy considering people are holding them down due to how much pain they're enduring. Here's another example. This perfect, wonderful baby is born into your life. There's nothing wrong about him whatsoever. You love him more than anything, except, rewind, he's not perfect, he's imperfect, and now we have to mutilate him because we don't love him at all. Got it. So this is the new information I came across. It's a very interesting story from somebody who got themselves circumcised later in life. This person says, 2 years ago I had a foreskin which wouldn't retract. Apparently some guys have that problem of it not attracting. I've never seen it. But you know, shit happens, I guess. He said they're completely unbiased, thinking sex and masturbation would be just the same. They waited until they were healed, and even after that, they were still numb. They did what most anyone should do before an operation, which is fucking research. And then they realized, oh shit, I cut off the most sensitive part of my fucking penis, and now sex is never going to be nearly as enjoyable. That's the message I really wanted to convey today. If you're a parent who's considering circumcising your kid, realize that removing that part of their penis is very similar to removing a clitoris from a female. There are more nerve endings in parts of what's removed during a circumcision than in the entire clitoris of a female. Now, for all of you who are actually decent at sex and understand what a clitoris is, assuming you didn't already know this, you're probably pretty fucking shocked right now. That is so fucked up. Guys, if girls ever make fun of you for being 100% natural intact and having that bit of extra skin and nerve endings, just remind them about their skin-infested vaginas. Look at the fucking labia, it's like skinpocalypse. Skin isn't necessarily a bad thing. Actually, that sounds kind of fucking stupid because you think everybody would already know that. So apparently a lot of people circumcise for hygiene, which is hilarious because all you gotta do is fucking wash yourself, which you should be doing anyway. They're saying many people argue that it's easier to clean, and they're saying that this argument was generated back when there weren't any showers. Circumcision for medical reasons. Saying people say there's a risk of infections, problems with attracting the foreskin, and inflammation. Oh, come on, inflammation? You're gonna destroy 80 to 90% of your sensitivity in your penis because of a little inflammation from time to time. That is assuming you even get that, which I've never heard of anyone intact saying they got. For some families, the choice is simple because it's based on cultural or religious beliefs. That's great. Force your fucking shitty ass beliefs on me, which require the removal of the most sensitive part of my fucking dick. It's okay, I get where you guys are coming from. My dad was the same fucking way. Thanks, you fucking cunt. I don't talk to him anymore. But for others, the right option isn't clear before you make a circumcision decision, which shouldn't even be a decision because it's not your fucking body. They're saying at most 65% of boys are circumcised in the United States each year. Whereas in the world, they're saying about 30% of men are circumcised, which isn't that bad if you really think about it because it means the majority of men in this world knows what real sex feels like. Of these, 68% are Muslim. Well, okay, if you want to be like a Muslim, get your dick cut. We know how Americans love Muslims. They're saying parents choose circumcision because they're concerned about hygiene or cultural/social reasons, such as the wish to have their son look like other men in the family. That is so fucking incestual. Why the fuck would I care if my dick matches my uncle's or my grandpa's? Are we all gonna get in a fucking circle and compare dicks? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Hey, I can barely feel my girlfriend's pussy. How about you? No fun sensitivity for you. Anyway, so I don't want this video to go on and on. But just to be clear, I think we've established how fucking useless mutilating your children is. And if you watching this were mutilated against your will, I actually have good news for you. Apparently you can sue your parents for removing a piece of your body without your consent. Some people have actually done that, which means you probably can too. Fuck those assholes for ruining your sex life. All those intact men feeling
every fucking detail of their girlfriend's pussy. Oh, those assholes. No, but seriously, I think that's compelling enough, don't you? Look at the fact that you have showers and the foreskin is incredibly easy to clean. And the fact that it's fucking natural. It's supposed to fucking be there. It's just generally like this happy, cozy place that naturally retracts when you have sex anyway. So not only is your foreskin feeling the pussy, your fucking still sensitive dickhead, because it was protected by the foreskin, also feels the pussy. Isn't that fucking cool to have this moving fucking part that goes back and forth inside the vagina, stimulating not only the vagina but you as well? And again, the fucking nerve endings, which are higher in quantity than a goddamn clitoris, you're gonna remove that? And then on the other hand, you have religious beliefs, which are worth what exactly? This is no fucking brainer, people. Regardless, that's why parents circumcise their children, because they're either uninformed or they're completely fucking stupid. Have a wonderful day.
We are not robots. We are not slaves. We are Banana Nation.
What's up, everyone? Today I was gonna do how to feel better, but how to feel circumcised came up, and that seems way more interesting. So maybe we'll do an anti-depression video in the future. But for now, let's talk about dicks. But before we get started, yesterday's video, only 44 dislikes. Are you serious? Come on, you guys can do better than that. Well, I guess that's one way to feel circumcised. Screaming in complete and utter pain because mommy and daddy love you so much they'll give you to a stranger, let him strap you down, and remove a piece of your body against your will. But I suppose you could argue that a baby screaming bloody murder is not a sign of misery and discomfort, but rather joy and happiness. If you're insane. And what's super fucked up is that the people who are pro-circumcision for females are saying the same shit that people who are pro-circumcision for males. And a lot of times it's not just the men talking about the females being circumcised, it's the females. Many of them will literally sit there and say, oh, I'm glad I got circumcised and I would circumcise my daughter too. Are you fucking nuts? Of course you are. Because you were violated during your childhood, your most impressionable moments. Now your brain is programmed to think that shit is sane, but it's not. To mutilate a baby or to leave it alone? That is a stupid question. And now to lighten the mood, a man taking a picture of his own dick. This is exactly what cell phones were made for. Why stop at the foreskin? He could get testicular cancer one day. And technically he doesn't need 2 balls to reproduce. And also women have a way higher chance of getting breast cancer, so why don't we just remove their tits altogether? I fucking hate you people. Don't worry guys, their religion tells them that taking a razor to a baby is a good idea. I mean, obviously your perfect God fucked up on his perfect creations and now we flawed human beings have to correct his horrible mistakes by mutilating genitals. It's amazing some people can be subjected to that basic logic and still not realize how insane they are. How many of your other parental decisions require specialized restraints, you terrible human being and failure as a parent? How to feel circumcised? I'm intact and I'm just curious how do circumcised men feel? Is there any technique to do it? Okay, first off, here's the reality of it. You can't feel circumcised if you're intact. You see, when somebody circumcises you, they remove the most sensitive part of your penis. While mutilated men can feel certain sensations, they have no fucking idea what they're missing. A guy with a cut-up dick is to a guy who's intact. It's like a blind guy watching a Transformers movie versus a guy who has 20/20 vision. You just experience so much more and it's so much fucking better. This person is saying if you want to feel what it's like to be circumcised, you just pull the skin back, which of course moves forward and backward freely on the penis if you have a normal foreskin, especially inside your significant other, which by the way, ladies, that doesn't sound so bad, does it? Having a guy's penis stimulate the inside of your vagina while an entirely separate part also simultaneously stimulates your vagina as well. Come on, ladies, you know it. The more dick, the merrier. This person's saying you can't experience what it's like to have your penis mutilated because you still have the nerves intact. They're saying cut-up dicks are desensitized and it cannot be realistically simulated with a guy who has not been mutilated. This person's saying that being cut up is great. It's really quite brilliant. There's also a surprising sense of relief of just not having to deal with the foreskin anymore. Here's how I know you're a fucking liar. If you ever had a foreskin, you would know it's not a problem dealing with a foreskin. Ladies, think of it this way. If somebody cut all the skin off your vagina, now that so many of your nerves and flesh is gone, do you really think that you would say, oh, I'm so happy that I don't have to wash it anymore? That's fucking insane. It's not difficult to wash a vagina because you don't have to go internally to wash it. In fact, you're not supposed to wash it internally because it cleans itself. Just like it's fucking easy to wash an intact penis. What this person said, not having to deal with the foreskin anymore, is complete bullshit because there really is no dealing with the foreskin. People act like it's some kind of fucking Rubik's Cube when you get in the shower. You are delusional and ignorant. When people are trying to dumb down how horrible circumcision is, they say, oh, it's just a piece of skin. And then when they try to promote circumcision, they're like, oh, that piece of skin is a huge problem. Wait, I thought you just said it's just a piece of skin. How the fuck is it a huge problem and just a piece of skin at the same time? You're fucking nutty. If you watching this don't have a foreskin, let me demonstrate how easy it is to wash under your foreskin. Washing down there is literally as easy as washing behind your ear. You just take some skin and you push it back, and then you
do that, rinse, ta-da, done. It's amazing how fucking stupid you have to be to sit there and try and justify harming a child. I said it before and I'll say it again. People who are pro-male circumcision sound just like people who are pro-female circumcision. They say all the fucking same shit. And yet, at least with the people who are pro-female and male circumcision, they're not flaming fucking hypocrites. It's so wrong to circumcise the baby girl, but we need to get rid of that guy's foreskin. Ew. You don't think the guys in countries where they're conditioned to think that female circumcision is a necessity react the same way to uncut women as many women in America react to uncut men? You people have so much in common, and yet you act like you're so much fucking better than them. Here they're pointing out that getting circumcised doesn't necessarily significantly reduce your chances of getting any infection or STD or otherwise, and they're saying that most adults who by definition want to get mutilated do it because I guess they think being mutilated looks better. And I say mutilated because that is literally the definition of mutilation. And they're also saying some do it for religious reasons, which is actually the same reason 9/11 happened. Religious reasons. For those of you who are ignorant to the definition of mutilation, here it is. To injure, disfigure, or make imperfect by removing irreparably damaging parts. Definition number 2, to deprive of a limb or other essential part. Most guys who know what it's like to have a foreskin seem to enjoy it quite much, considering 80% of the males on this planet remain uncircumcised. Yet you have all these men who have no idea what it's like to have a foreskin, sitting there acting like it's fucking better to be mutilated, because unlike guys who are still intact, they don't have a fucking choice. I know, some people are researching growing your foreskin back. Good luck with that. The person says, I was cut at 18 for medical reason, and I still have a good sex life like I did before. We'll get people who will say you lose most of the feeling, but believe me, you don't, as I have not. That's a whole lot like saying, hey, I smoked cigarettes my whole life and I didn't die prematurely, so you won't either. This is allegedly from another person who was circumcised as an adult. They're saying it's been 100 days since their circumcision. They say they're satisfied with their circumcision, however, they haven't had the opportunity to try things out properly, as they say. Ah, got you, motherfucker. See, I'm trying to be honest with you guys by showing both sides of the story. If you're gonna be honest, you gotta include both sides. Regardless, this person literally says, I love not having a cock that smells like a bag of Scampi fries if I don't wash it several times a day. You are fucking mad. Okay, I don't know where this delusion comes from, but penises do not smell like Scampi fries just because you don't wash them several times a day. That is propaganda bullshit. I was literally thinking your story might be legitimate until I read that exact quote, because no one with a healthy penis that's also intact would ever say they had to wash their penis multiple times in a day just to keep it from smelling shitty like those Scampi fries. It's actually kind of disturbing to see what extent people will go to with their lies to try and convince themselves and others that what happened to their dick when they were a baby was okay. It's not okay to cut on baby girls, and it's not okay to cut on baby boys. If you think otherwise, you're just a sexist baby predator. Anyway, to answer the question, if you're intact, you cannot know what it's like to not be intact without actually mutilating yourself. For all the ladies watching this, I want you to imagine someone trying to convince you to cut up your vagina, because if you don't, you'll get infections non-stop and you'll hate it. And guys won't have sex with you anymore because you're abominable to them. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. There's a 99% chance you have no problem washing your lady parts and you love being intact. You have a snowman's chance in hell of convincing an intact guy there's anything wrong with him. A motherfucker knows sexual sensations you will never know. Every woman and man who has sex with that 100% intact man will know what it's like to have sex with a real man, not a modified, mutilated plastic guy like you. No, guys who are intact are the real deal. And all those mutilated dicks, well, you can't help but feel sorry for them. Because like I said, guys that are whole could choose to be mutilated at any time. And yet despite mutilating your penis is just a doctor visit away, they still choose not to. Want to know why intact men choose to keep their foreskin? Because having a foreskin is better than not having one. So if your parents mutilated your penis, that sucks. Maybe you should try fighting for the rights of other boys so they don't also have to be subjected to the obvious violation of human rights. In closing, I'd like to remind you to try and not sound like people who are pro-female circumcision, because remember, they say most everything people who are pro-male circumcision say. Check yourself before you make a bigger asshole of yourself than you already are. Have a wonderful day.
We are not robots. We are not slaves. We are Banana Nation.
How to tell if you're circumcised. Let's get to it. So you're 35 and want to get circumcised. Really? Why would you want a smaller penis? Okay, I guess technically it's smaller, because when you remove a piece of something, what remains of it has less mass. You should know, however, if you were circumcised as a baby, your parents were loving enough to strap you into one of these tables. You know, the thing that looks like a medieval torture device. Forcefully remove the most sensitive part of your body. It's not jargon. That's literally what happened. As you can see, not a whole lot of people in Europe getting circumcised. Let us compare the two. Let's see, in Africa, the circumcision rates are incredibly high. How's the AIDS going down there? Oh, I see. Pretty high, huh? Yeah. The AIDS rates in South America are almost identical to that of North America, and yet in South America, they barely circumcise. Weird. It's almost as if circumcision is completely unnecessary and stupid. And then there's all these little European countries that barely circumcise. How do they compare to the United States? In the United States, it's 0.5 to 1% of people infected with HIV, and in all these European countries where they barely circumcise, it's 0.1 to 0.5. AIDS argument destroyed. What is the actual physical difference between circumcised and uncircumcised men? Well, if you were circumcised, here's an example of how you looked as a baby when you're getting your genitals forced
forcefully cut on. And this is what a baby looks like when they're not getting circumcised. You know, because their parents actually love them. Foreskins come in all sizes. That's so untrue. Foreskins don't come in the size of a house. You said all sizes. I hate you too. One way to tell is if you have a circumcision scar. How do you know what a circumcision scar looks like? You're saying this skin will be pinker than the skin closer to your body. If you can see a scar that separates the two types of skin, then you are circumcised. Let me translate this into English. You see the color of my inner lip, and you see the color of my outer lip? In a way, it's kind of like asking whether or not you have lips on your face. Imagine having no lips and just this right here. See how it's all veiny and gross? When you circumcise most penises, that's all you're left with. And your penis can't do this anymore. Actually, it can never do that because you don't piss air. If your penis looks like a mushroom rather than a mouse in a hole, you are circumcised. I'm sure we have pictures to demonstrate this. There we go. That basically sums it up. If your penis looks like that, there's a good chance you might be circumcised. As for the mouse in a hole, I don't get that analogy. I think this picture better represents. See, the layer around the hot dog, that's like your foreskin. What's cool about that little guy is that when you jerk off, it kind of acts like a miniature vagina. The point is, when you have a foreskin, masturbation is incredibly easy. A guy who's intact could literally drop to his knees whenever he wants and just jerk off without any agitation. Literally, no rubbing, no burns, no lotion either. Because he has all those nerve endings that the doctor never removed because they never got circumcised, he's very likely enjoying masturbation even more. You know who loves circumcision? Lotion companies. Guys with mutilated penises are some of their best customers. Meanwhile, according to this studies done in Africa report that circumcised heterosexual men are as much as 60% less susceptible to HIV. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you ignore the whole first half of this video? See how Africa's red colored? And how Europe's orange colored? North America's darker orange colored? Just compare maps that show HIV rates to circumcision rates, and you'll notice something very consistent. Europe, that place that doesn't practice circumcision as consistently as the rest of the world, is regularly less HIV infested than those other places. God damn, you people are dumb.
In Africa, where they overkill on circumcision, there's lower HIV rates.
Oh yeah, Africa, where circumcision rates are super high and so are AIDS rates.
You're right. It's also colder in hell because there's more fire there. Yeah.
I hate people. I hate so many people. It's unbearable. But no, for reals, the best way to find out whether or not you're circumcised is the next time you jerk off, if there's a decent amount of skin that moves backward and forward with your hand as you jerk off, very likely means that your parents love you. Now, if there's barely any skin that moves with your hand when you jerk off, yeah, your parents mutilated your penis and didn't even ask you if you wanted it to happen. They treated you like a piece of property and permanently disfigured you. Even if you try to restore your foreskin, those nerve endings they removed are gone. You're screwed, dude. But the good news is these days a lot of people can sue their parents for doing what they did. So mom, dad, see you in court, huh? Why does breast ironing exist? Plus female circumcision. So this is a hot object used to flatten breasts, bringing new meaning to the idea of pancake tits. This is, I guess, a woman who got her breasts ironed. It's pretty clear she doesn't look too happy about it. Straight up opposition to breast ironing. A sign behind her says, "Mothers, stop breast ironing. Let our bodies develop naturally." But of course, it's something that's accepted in many areas of their culture. So like male circumcision in America, a lot of those idiot mothers are gonna say, "How dare you question my beliefs? My child is my property. I can do whatever I want." Intelligence at its finest. I imagine this stick has ironed a lot of breasts. It looks FUBAR enough. So I guess supplying babies nutrients from your breasts is out of the question, considering they are now mutilated. I would show you a picture of this baby getting nutrients from a natural healthy breast, but we're goddamn morons who can't handle the sight of it. So we'll just go on living in a state of delusion, as if the natural human body is offensive in some way. Just in case you didn't fully understand, this is likely another tool used for breast ironing. Kinda looks like something you'd use to mix cookie dough. Now finally, some eye candy. What many women can look like if they don't flatten their boobs. God forbid people actually be attracted to women. That would just make life enjoyable. So I typed in female circumcision. The first thing that comes up is female genital mutilation. But of course in America, despite it being an extremely similar procedure, if you called male circumcision male genital mutilation, you complete idiots would be like, "That's not mutilation, it's a wonderful religious procedure. You see, God made women perfect, but he screwed up making men. So now we gotta make his penis smaller by slicing off a big piece of it. Also, jerking off can be more difficult for him, and because we remove so many nerve endings, he can now feel barely anything up to the point of ejaculating." You heard it here, guys. If the best part of you having sex is ejaculation, your penis is probably mutilated. Thank goodness for religion, right? Here's, I assume, a mom forcefully holding her child's legs open so they can ruin her genitals. All for the sake of an invisible magical being who's so incompetent they couldn't modify our genitals before we were born, so we wouldn't have to have a bunch of moron humans who have a significant margin of error modifying our genitals so we could what? Oh, that's right, enjoy one of the best things about life less, sex. FGM eradication. Why not just GM eradication? Oh man, we really gotta stop torturing those baby girls. Baby boys? No, I'd rather force women to have to spit on penises before they can give them hand jobs. God forbid we leave the foreskin intact so you can literally just jerk a guy off with no lube at all. It's just too easy. Breast flattening is the pounding and massaging of pubescent girls' breasts using hard heated objects to try and make them stop developing or to disappear. How stupid can you be? It says here, yes, the vagina is cut open on the girl's wedding night, which I imagine has to smell disgusting. And how the hell would they fit tampons up there? Talk about objectifying women. This person says I'm against all forms of genital cutting / mutilation, male and female. Bravo. Ugh, this topic makes me sick. Anyway, breast ironing exists for obvious cultural reasons because a lot of parents are freaking morons. And circumcision exists for obvious cultural and religious reasons because parents are freaking morons. And if you watching this video support breast ironing, male or female circumcision, well please by all means unsubscribe and go fuck yourself. Thanks. Is it better to be circumcised? As you know, over time, society tends to get smarter. Many religions are dying, technology is evolving, and oh yeah, genital mutilation rates are going down. Canadians barely circumcised these days. In fact, the majority of men on this planet have genitals that are intact. Circumcision, the more you know, the more you're against it. Unless, of course, you're insane. Notice more and more boys are able to keep their entire penis, because a lot of parents are waking the hell up. Here's a baby screaming in agony, while his loving parents mutilate his genitals. You're supposed to protect your children, but who's gonna protect them from you? Good parents want to bring all their baby home, not just what's left of them. Behold the parallels between date rape and circumcision. A lot of people say because the baby doesn't remember it, it doesn't matter. You know what the main difference is? The child was actually awake to suffer their circumcision. These men all apparently have good mothers. That's right, if you circumcise your children, you're not only a terrible person, but you're a terrible mother. More examples of people who didn't remember their abuse, and pro-circ people acting like their abuse doesn't matter. Reminder of what a baby's face looks like when they're being tortured, thanks to loving mom and dad. Here's an interesting meme. How guys and girls deal with breakups differently. Guarantee you the guy with the lotion doesn't have all of his penis. Guys who have all their penis don't need lotion. In fact, if they try to use lotion, it just feels weird and awkward. When you remove the foreskin, it's kind of like masturbating without a clitoris. It becomes a much more difficult, less enjoyable process. That's why you don't remove those thousands of nerve endings that are attached to a man's penis. We need those just like a woman needs her clitoris. More facts people who mutilate their children ignore. More facts parents who mutilate their children ignore. Someone who's sane and not a monster pointing out how easy it is to take care of a kid who has his foreskin. Meanwhile, that child you mutilated enjoyed dealing with the open wound from his circumcision while actively trying to prevent an infection from his crap and piss infested diapers. According to this, the foreskin has over 20,000 nerve endings. It's the most sensitive part of a man's penis. And you know what? All this aside, to any women watching this who are lucky enough to have an intact boyfriend, there's a few cool things about your boyfriend that you probably don't know about. One, you don't have to spit on your boyfriend's genitals before you give him a hand job. In fact, it's much better if you don't spit on it because he has a foreskin, which does half the work for you. Secondly, you hopefully know by now that right underneath the tip of his penis is an incredibly sensitive area, which a man can experience an orgasm totally separate from what most consider a normal male orgasm. It's basically the difference between a clitoral orgasm and a vaginal orgasm. Long story short, if you have a mutilated penis, you are by definition broken. You were born whole, someone removed one of your essential parts. Now, no matter what you do, you're never gonna get back what you had. Yes, some people can stretch out their skin so it looks like they have a foreskin again, but it's literally not the exact same. So what do? We don't mutilate our children in the first place, you mind-blowingly stupid people. Penises. That's what we're talking about. Specifically, the popular practice in America of taking a blade and slicing off what is said to be the most sensitive part of the penis. So these are supposed to illustrate two different types of penises. This person still has 100% of their penis, which means they're still 100% man. This person has about 75% or more of their penis left. And who else gets part, if not all of their penis removed? That's right, people who do not identify as men. What I just did there was called a demasculating argument. Demasculating not necessarily being a word, but you get what I mean. But my question to all the cut guys, do you have 100% of your penis? Obviously, the answer is no. Now, you may be thinking this mushroom head here looks ridiculous, but I have literally actually seen penises like that in pornography, so I don't know what to tell you. But also something about cut penises is at some point you're gonna encounter scars, you know, where the foreskin used to be attached. One of the main things parents try not to do is scar their kids for life, and yet a huge amount of Americans do that right after their kid's born. And I say Americans because the majority of parents do not cut on their babies and instead do this weird thing called loving their kids. Weird, I know. Love does not mean loving 98% of your kid. Love does not mean treating your kid like they're imperfect when they're born. Love means treasuring 100% of your kid and knowing your baby is perfect the moment they're born. I am making it more than obvious that people who do not cut their kids clearly love their kids more than people who do cut their kids. No loving parent throws a piece of their child in the trash shortly after they're born. Let's talk about jerking off. This is a bottle of lotion. A lot of you cut guys are very familiar with these. The foreskin can freely be pulled back and forth when the guy is jerking off. It's almost like having a vagina sensation installed on your penis to use whenever you want. Meanwhile, when a cut guy tries to jerk it, where is the part of him that goes back when he pulls his hand back? You know, the vagina sensation? It's just a bunch of stiff skin right here. It's like trying to do this when you have no lips. It's not gonna happen. That's why a lot of cut guys use lotion, because a lot of cut guys actually have to. Translation, uncut guy can drop to his knees whenever he wants and jerk off, whereas uncut guy, in many cases, can only masturbate when there's lotion around, or they could be so desperate that they try to find the nearest mouth and beg that person to gratify them. But here's the guy that's fully intact, saying, thanks mom and dad, I have a fully functional penis. At this point, it should be like, duh, we should not remove this essential part of our babies. But a lot of you are stupid, so I'll keep going. So believe it or not, these are not two penises. This is a broom handle, and this is an intact guy. Now, when a lot of women describe the difference between a guy who's had his penis cut on versus a guy who's intact, a lot of women say the guy who's been cut feels like a broom handle is being shoved inside them. Whereas when women describe intact dudes, they're like, oh, that feels like a penis. Because of course it is 100% a penis. You see, when an intact guy pushes his penis inside a woman, the foreskin moves back and forth inside of her. That movement often gives her a greater sensation of pleasure, and because the skin here is sensitive, it's a lot more difficult for a man who's intact to just shove his penis inside of a dry woman, as if that woman is dry. The skin around the intact penis will literally encourage the man to wait until
until she is turned on. In other words, ladies, guys who are intact are going to take more time getting you aroused before they just shove their penis inside you. Which is probably where the rumor comes from regarding some of the best male lovers being in France. Because in France, they have extremely low baby mutilation rates. Hence why so many of you American dudes cannot compete with the French dudes. They have something you do not, 100% of their penis. Now people talk about the risk of AIDS and how because they cut their baby has a lower chance of getting AIDS. First of all, medications have made AIDS not as lethal as it used to be. And I ask you, do we really want to by definition mutilate millions of babies, all for the sake of the select few who might actually contract AIDS, when even after you cut these babies, they can still get AIDS? Hell, breast cancer is extremely lethal and is a huge problem in the United States. So by your logic, we should give all these kids mastectomies for the sake of avoiding them getting breast cancer. Are you insane? You don't punish the majority for the risks of the few. That's just absurd logic. You could also talk about infections, which some say men who are intact are more likely to get. But you know what group of people is highly prone to getting infections? Women. So to avoid the statistically few amount of people who may get infections down there, are we supposed to tell Dr. Crazy to gut women too? Remove their labias so there's allegedly less risk of them getting infections? Go ahead and remove their clitoris too. I mean, the more human parts you have, the more likely they are to be defective. Most of you haven't had your tonsils removed, but by the logic of the pro-circumcision group, a small amount of people have gotten tonsillitis, so now everyone has to get surgery. Yay, logic. Some people will tell you that uncut guys have stinky penises. Those people are idiots. Foreskin, keyword skin. What else has skin? The vagina. In fact, the vagina tends to have a whole lot more skin. So if having a foreskin or skin equals stinky, using the same logic as pro-circumcision people, apparently all women are stinky now. Or maybe it's just the women who don't clean the outside of their vaginas. Just like any dude who doesn't wash himself will also tend to stink. Now here's the kicker. A lot of you don't even know the difference between a circumcised guy and an uncircumcised guy. Orlando Bloom, for instance, his nudes came out not too long ago, and I saw almost no comments on the fact that he was fully intact. That's because a lot of you American morons are sheltered and have little to no education on what the fully intact male body actually looks like. Some of you literally think that the average intact man looks like this. Like, this is really a penis here, right? And this is, I guess, the foreskin. If it was, I don't know, tied to a door and then the door was slammed, maybe? I can confidently say 99.9% of intact men do not look like that. And I say that because I've seen a lot of porn. In fact, if you ever watch porn, when you see a woman spit on a penis, that's likely because that penis is broken. Intact penises do not require spit at all. So thank goodness we can get rid of that gross sexual practice. Reality is, when an intact guy and a non-intact guy are erect, they look about the same. That's because a lot of times when a guy gets erect, the foreskin is naturally pulled back. So you tell me which guy's cut and which guy's not. Let's just go ahead and add some scar tissue here. And do you notice a difference between these two penises? This guy has a skinnier penis, doesn't he? That's because the foreskin, when pulled back, makes your penis even thicker. When you remove the skin, you are making your penis more thin. Again, this is a physical fact. And if you've ever had a conversation with a woman as to what type of penis she prefers, they will most always tell you thickness is extremely important. So when a lot of you watching this one day have a son, if you want to curse your son with a thinner penis that has scar tissue, often requires lube for masturbation, and even often requires women to spit on your penis to sexually gratify you in certain ways. You want the future girlfriends of your son to describe their penis like a broomstick. Do you want your kid to have missing parts, causing there to be no moving sensation inside their girlfriend's vaginas, which by the way, I'm told is awesome for women? And do you want to have less than 100% of your son? Is that really what you want? Or do you just want a healthy, happy baby who has all their parts intact? I mean, do you not see why I think you people are so stupid? Why is this even a debate? You want doctors to forcefully pin your child down, and yes, this is a real thing that many doctors do. While your baby's still conscious, they take a blade and they slice off a piece of his penis. Your child's blue in the face from screaming so hard. There have ironically been many circumcision deaths. And you want to talk about infections? Let's talk about the open wound on his penis you just created, plus a poop-filled diaper. Now you gotta give your special cut kid a shot, just so he doesn't freaking die from that combination. Clearly, stupid parents are just making themselves work harder to keep their baby alive. And for what? So you could permanently disfigure your own child. You really are such a great parent. Hey guys, in the normal Onision Speaks fashion, we're gonna search for something controversial. Circumcision fail. I don't know, I heard that circumcision actually does help prevent HIV. Autocorrect, why? Yeah, no, I think pretty much everyone draws the line by the time you get about here. It has been proven that they don't exist, okay? You know what, he'd probably need himself in the face because he isn't circumcised. That made no sense. What's gonna happen here, dude? Are you up? Yeah. It's probably because he isn't circumcised, or is, I don't even know. Or you shall become an outside dog. How did this image even show up, Bing? What even is this? I'm pretty sure that's a woman. Did she get circumcised? Also, I'm pretty sure they like patch you up or something when they're done, right? Maybe they just have periods. You know, I think it's incredibly unfortunate that the Jewish people often believe that removing a perfectly healthy part of a baby's body is something that makes sense. That doesn't mean that I or anyone who opposes circumcision is an anti-Semite, but rather it is more likely that we simply think that people deserve to choose whether or not they undergo this procedure. But hey, screw human rights, right? A condom. Yeah, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, okay? Condoms suck. Sounds painful, bro. Props to you, though. Mega impressed. What does that even mean? I mean, it's probably easier to fap when you're uncircumcised because you have that whole thing. It's complicated. But other than that, what's the hard time? I mean, other than the surgery and the recovery. This actually happens to babies too. Sometimes circumcisions go wrong. Explain that to your kids. Yes, sweetie, we tried to have you circumcised and now you're a girl. Our bad. What is that, like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Don't circumcise me! No! No! Please don't! No!
Does it? Really? Okay, maybe if you're one of those guys who thinks with your thing down there, that's possible. But me personally, I mostly think with this guy. There should be. How much is it worth? Like 40 grand? No, the Lord giveth, but people took it away. Seriously, I will believe in the Bible once it's written directly by God. Wow, I didn't know the Middle East was so big on it. Oh, right, Jews. Oh, God. Not that they're terrorists. I love Jon Stewart and Adam Sandler and other awesome Jews. Oh my God, the Onision forums. It happens. 80% of the world isn't circumcised. Newsflash. So that's not necessarily a shocker. Don't forget those lip piercings, you Satanists. I don't know about forcing people to not follow their religion. That's a little weird. I'd probably say no circumcision for people who aren't religiously obligated to circumcise. Pretty sure the Jewish community would be happy with their population increase. I'm confused. Can babies talk? See, it's useful for many things. Whoa, I wasn't ready for that. Oh my God, you might have a point there. However, not being able to have an abortion infringes upon the rights of women, so it's a situation where you can't really win. How about no? Alright guys, so enjoy the flame war.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's so weird, isn't it? When guys have weird colored pee-pees.
Oh, I feel like it's normal for it to be a little different from their body.
Yeah,
Your nipples are the same color as your lips.
It depends on whether or not you're cut.
Is that
actually.
true?
What is that? It's called Neapolitan ice cream, right? Where it's red, white, and then brown or something like that.
Yep, that's it.
Some guys who are cut look like Neapolitan ice cream.
Wait,
Oh
what?
my
Yeah.
God.
It's
Yeah.
funny because
Oh
I'm
my God.
European.
Yeah.
He's not.
don't know.
He's not. I mean, he's not wrong.
I don't think it's-
He's really
I don't-
not wrong.
Well, because you go from the head, which is one color, then you go to the shaft, which is half cut, so it's like red, and then
Hey,
you go to
don't
the skin,
shame that. They didn't choose
which
to
is
get
red.
cut, man. It was their parents.
and then they choose to have their own kids cut and do the same thing to their own kids, so they need lotion.
I think people see it as
Wouldn't that
cruel.
suck though? Wouldn't that suck though? Oh man, I really want to please myself. Oh wait, gotta go get lotion and all this other crap first, and then they have to do that. But then by that time, they're probably less interested, and even then, it just
I know.
feels weird.
Wait, I know guys that use lotion and they're not cut.
They were probably
Oh
light-
yeah.
they were probably
just having,
lightly
like-
they were probably lightly cut.
No. What do you mean lightly cut?
yeah.
No, they had a full
Meaning
turtleneck
some
over
people
their-
no. It means that they have enough give to actually go back and forth, but some people are cut so far that like when they get aroused, they can't even move it. Like it's just tight skin.
Well, if you're completely circumcised, yeah, you have like the mushroom. There's a mushroom versus an anteater. An anteater is uncircumcised, right? And then a
yeah,
mushroom
but
has the hat.
there's some guys that are halfway though. Like they're like
Really?
they're like
Yeah,
they're like
there
cut
are.
they're like
Oh,
cut
wait,
they're
yeah,
like
yeah,
cut
yeah.
a little bit, but not fully,
Yeah.
and that
Well,
actually
some guys have some give.
that's probably not a big deal actually.
Yeah, but when they're fully erect, I feel like they look kind of the same.
Mostly because
Well,
you tend to find.
I heard
the
this
force-
analogy. I don't know if you guys agree with it or something, but this girl was like with this guy and he wasn't cut, and then he got cut, and she said it felt like the difference between like just like something that was really like there was a lot of give and it felt like there was a lot of movement and stuff, and then she said it just felt like having the mop handle, and I kind of felt sad.
Oh, I don't think a girl would feel the difference at all.
No.
Uh,
Hang on. I've been with both. I do feel a difference.
So
Actually,
have
on a
I.
level. I will level. I feel a difference.
Really? I don't feel a difference at all.
That makes
not-
I've sampled.
well, some
that much far.
people are more sensitive than other people.
Greg, slow
What?
down because I actually have very mild hypersensitivity. Muhaha.
You have very high sensitivity,
Very mild hypersensitivity.
so you're highly sensitive.
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad it's established.
Wait, man.
I really doubt the children watching this.
Oh, you know what? You know what's great is we have barely sworn and we've given people more education than their parents ever would. What's important is that we're talking about a procedure that people go through that they may have to decide to do to their own child someday. So I'd say that's pretty helpful.
And here's your.
I actually heard of
I've
I've heard of multiple moms who like cut their first kid, but their second kid they didn't because they were educated about it, and their like first kid is like, you know.
Well, that second kid has to be pissed. Except I do know
The
in
second
locker
kid?
room-
Why would the second kid be pissed?
You mean the first kid?
Or I mean the first kid.
Okay, because I was like, the
locker
second
rooms-
kid can get it removed anytime he wants.
Because a lot of my guy
The first
friends will, like,
kid.
dig on each other. Like it's kind of
Wow,
like
my mom
it's like
didn't wanna
shirts
do
versus
it.
skins. Like some people think it's cool to be circumcised and some don't.
Well, it seems to be like politics or whatever. It's basically what family you're born into, and you typically just go with whatever you were. It's like having an Xbox versus a PlayStation 4. You typically are on the team that you have, and that's what kind of makes it kind of silly.
Where I am, it's more common to be
no,
male
no.
than uncut.
Do you know the guy who invented circumcision is the guy who made Kellogg's?